Welcome to the Nerds of Comedy. We are back live, well, not live, but live to you and me in the Push Comedy Theater. No more Zoom.
No more Zoom. We are back, people.
And we decided to celebrate the fact that Brad and I are back and in person with a very special episode, something that is very near and dear to our heart. Our man, Colombo.
Columbo. I've been working on sort of the eye down on it. It's like, just one more thing, right? We're obsessed with Columbo. You're going to hear it come out of my voice here today. Yes, we're comedians, but there's nothing I love more than Columbo. And Sean, I know you know this. During this pandemic of 2020 into 2021, I have been binging.
Oh, I have too. Binging since, I'm still only one a day, but basically our day consists of when we wake up in the morning, one will call the other and say, have you seen this one?
Yeah.
With this actor, and he does this and this. A large portion of our conversations now revolve around Columbo.
I'm obsessed. I think he's the best. I'm obsessed with him as an actor. I looked him up, and there's writing and everything. We're going to get into it. Sorry, I'm going to let you do your part on this, but if you can't tell, I'm excited. I could talk about this to no one for 10 days straight.
Well, the episode we did probably right before the pandemic started, we did one with the General, By Dawn's Early Light.
Yeah. With why'd you just say that? You've ruined me on my head for the guy from Braveheart and
the prisoner Patrick
McGowan.
Yeah, Patrick McGowan.
Whew!
I know. We're getting old.
He's getting old. It's marijuana for me, but yes.
But that has gotten a huge response from our viewers.
You told me this, and it was almost as shocking as Columbo figuring out the murder mystery. I was like, nobody's going to care about this, even though they should. So to y'all out there watching this, I'm as obsessed as you are. I would watch your videos about it. In fact, I have. There's not a lot. I think that's the reason. I have gone searching for Columbo videos on YouTube, people talking about Columbo, and there's not a lot. There's not. I've done it recently too, and if he'll tell you, I'm not a computer guy, but again, I've looked up as much as I can about Columbo, Bill Murray, and Star Trek 2, probably too much. Mm-hmm. I wore this coat in honor of it. Where's that? Anyway, I love that man. Love that man.
So we decided we're going back to the beginning, not all the way back to the beginning. We are going to the very first episode in the series. It's too hot for you?
Yeah.
The very first episode of the series, which is Murder by the Book.
Yes, right.
We go a lot of times by actors or by directors on these, but the titles. But this one is Murder by the Book. It's the very first episode of the series. There was a made-for-TV movie in 1968 that had Peter Falk in it. A pilot that aired in 71 or 72 with Peter Falk. Now, this is the very first episode of the series, and it is directed by a very young Steven Spielberg.
Which is so great.
Yeah.
It's so great. When I first saw that pop up on there, I'm like, wait, Steven Spielberg? So I should tell you this. We just talked about it. I do murder mystery, a show called The Unusual Suspects. If you've watched this before, I'm going to make this short. It's our biggest show, I would say, that we've produced together, and we star in it, and we play in an improvised murder mystery. But it's made me look up all of these detectives. And I came across this one, we figured out about 5 years ago, and you're like, wait, you haven't seen Columbo? And I'm like, no. And I'm a huge murder mystery guy, so I started binging then. And I know that you may cut some of this, but honestly, since then, it's just been an obsession on this.
It really has. It comes in like waves. Like, we'll go for a while with not talking about it.
Right.
And then probably, about 2 months ago or so, both of us just kind of fell back into it. We have a friend who got us a bunch of the episodes that we've just been plowing through.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to go with. He's more the historian on this, but it's great. Is some of the episodes we were getting in, and I shouldn't say this, weren't, I don't know about him, but for me, weren't always of the legal type of how I was getting them, where it would be downloaded from something. So I would get them out of order sometimes.
Yeah.
And we try to get that back, and you're like, no, Brad, that's season 2, episode 3. This one is that. Yeah, so I think this is, you said it's episode 1 of the series.
Yeah, very first episode.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about this.
So it is 2 writers. They are a writing duo, and one of them, played by Jack Cassidy, who is tied with Robert Culp for the most guest stars as a murderer.
I love that.
They have 4 apiece, I believe. Patrick McGowan has 3.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
And our boy that we're doing one coming up, Culp.
Yeah, Robert Culp. He's tied for first.
Oh, he's tied with him.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, he's tied with. And Jack Cassidy is the father of David Cassidy from the Partridge Family, and Sean Cassidy from the Hardy Boys.
Well, I didn't even know this. This is where he told me he had some surprises for me. I did not know that. And I love my old actors, but I didn't know that. Yeah.
Were you a Hardy Boys kid?
I liked the Hardy Boys, but remember, no, not as much. Nancy Drew books, but I did see the Hardy Boys. I remember watching it when the van, didn't they have a van?
Kind of. You know what? This is weird. I remember in first grade.
The girl from Beverly Hills Cop, the movie, is actually Nancy Drew in that. But go ahead, yes.
There were, I think, 2 actresses who played Nancy
She's
Drew.
very pretty. I can't think of her name.
But it was Parker Stevens or Parker Stevenson and Sean Cassidy. But when I was in first grade, my mother got called to the school by the nuns because I went to Catholic school, wondering if I was okay because I had started signing all my papers Sean Cassidy. I was a big Hardy Boys fan in that show when I was a kid. But anyway, he is the father of David Cassidy and Sean Cassidy, and he's great.
Menacing. If you've not seen the Colombos, we have to do it. I know that some of y'all that we have one episode, but I'm going to do this probably too much. This is not a whodunit. It's a how catch 'em, as they call it.
Yep.
So the first act shows you the murder, and they show this Jack Cassidy character as the other writer, and he is maniacal. Yeah. I actually think he's one of the more evil characters in the Columbo series. I'd love to hear what y'all say about it, but I think he's one of the most evil characters in it.
What is great, so the first probably 4 or 5 minutes, it shows him setting up for the murder, getting his car ready, getting the gun, getting
the piece of paper that had the names on it
Yes.
of the for the setup.
But there's no music. I went back and rewatched it. There's no music. All you hear is the typing of the keys.
Yep.
His partner is in their office, in downtown LA or whatever.
Yeah.
Finishing
Beautiful
the last
setting. Yeah, backdrop.
Finishing the last chapter on their last book, and that's the only soundtrack you hear is just these clacking of the keys as he's going about sending for the murder.
And the cinematography coming into it, of course, because it's Steven Spielberg, I'm going to pay attention to it, is, of course, they show you this old woman, and you're like, why does this old woman matter? And it's Miss Melville. It's the character in their stories.
Write. Yeah, they're murder mystery writers.
Yeah, they are murder mystery. I don't know if we said that or not. Yeah.
And you go out to find out that they are dissolving their partnership, and the partner is kind of the brains behind the outfit, and
he's the talent. Yeah.
And then the other one is more the marketing kind of like the.
Well, you find out that he just really doesn't write.
No.
He's the guy that he's everything that you would hate. You've called in real life. We're sketch comedians and we own a comedy club. Obviously, is that you always bring up a Johnny Come Lately. He's the guy that sort of gets in when the going's hot early with the guy and talks him into he needs him, but he doesn't do any of the writing really. He's really not. He's not the other guy's the talent.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he's been drug along through all their success, much like you and I.
Right. Yeah, you've been riding my coattails for so damn long. I've never seen anybody that needs me more.
Right. So they drive out.
I would murder you though, not out of this. I'd get away with it, but go ahead.
Just because your dad's a judge doesn't mean you can.
He's retired, but I'll get him to come out of retirement for that. Yeah.
So he takes him to his secluded cabin down like San Diego or someplace like that.
Right. So the first act, again, as all Columbo's, is the setup. They show you how he does it. And I'm sorry to do this to where I jump in with you, so I apologize.
I'm used
You're
to it.
absolutely right. Yeah, right. He goes back upstairs first to the office and ransacks it.
Yeah.
He ransacks the whole thing and throws the papers up in the air. And remember, he tells him he left his lighter. And he sets that piece of paper out that has the mob names on it,
right?
If you remember, and makes it look like that's where he was killed.
Right, exactly, yeah, and that it was the mob. Supposedly one of their books was a little too close to home, or the next book that the guy is going to be writing solo is kind of like a true crime all about the mob.
Right, because the guy has told Jack Cassidy's character that he wants to split. And so that's where you start off this whole thing. Sorry, we're doing the exposition, but it matters if you know the story. And Yeah, he's told me when the split, and he comes in all of a sudden nice that day. I was like, why don't we go celebrate? We can have this thing dissolve, but you just realize he's just maniacal.
Yeah, very calculated about having the guy contact his wife and stuff like that. So they go to the cabin. He bumps him off. The wife, when the partner doesn't show up, starts to get worried.
Time out. So sorry to do it to you.
Do they hear the gunshot?
No, remember that does happen. But more importantly, he stops by. This is huge in the story. He stops by a grocery store in this small outside of San Diego town. That this woman has a huge crush on Jack Cassidy because I love the way they do this in Colombo. He's an old player, right?
Yeah.
He's like, he's got all the moves, and he's talking to her. And she's not the prettiest woman. We looked her up. She's not the prettiest woman, but I think she rocks it in this role, if I may say.
She does. She was a character actress. I found out, I did a little more reading. She actually was murdered.
No,
Yeah,
I didn't
she
see
got,
this.
like, mugged and murdered. I was walking down the street or something like that. Yeah, it was kind of a tragedy. She was like late 30s, early 40s. Yeah, if I'm not
Are you
mistaken,
sure?
If I'm doing my
Watch this. You're gonna look this up like none of that happened. But yeah,
it's entirely possible.
Oh, that breaks my heart because,
Yeah.
again, I didn't mean to pick on nothing about her looks, but what I mean is I think they did that on purpose. I hate to say it because, remember, his taste in women is pristine.
Yeah,
he likes
he's
the
a- he's
very
a-
pretty one. This one's
plainer.
a widower. The woman's a widower, and she wants this book signed. She gets jealous that he always is bringing. She goes, "Is it a redhead this weekend?" And he's like, "No, I'm here by myself." But he wasn't. He was
Right.
there with his partner this time.
Yeah, and,
which comes up later. Sorry, I had to do it, but it comes up later.
So he bumps off his friend.
He's on the phone with the wife.
While he's on the phone with his wife. Obviously, she calls the cops, and Jack Cassidy says, something's happened to my husband. Jack Cassidy says, I'll be right there, and drives back to San Francisco. And
To L.A.
To L.A., and when he gets there, Columbo is on the scene.
You nailed it. We were in the second act, as you call it in here. Columbo's there, and I'm going to let you take over from there. But the part that's interesting about that is, remember, she's on. One thing we have to say that makes him maniacal, if I'm going to call him maniacal, the first scene, Sean, I don't know if you remember this, the first scene when you first see him walk in to meet his partner in the office, he has a gun pull.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not intimidated, huh?
Oh, come on, Ken. You're forgetting that I'm one half of the world's greatest mystery writing team. You, don't have gloves on, your finger's not on the trigger, and there are no bullets in the cylinder.
Yeah,
He's like,
exactly.
I'm just playing with you. And then so the second time he does it, the guy's on the phone like, what the F? And then it's real.
Right.
Sorry. That's why I think he's very
Very, yeah, exactly. A very cold, very calculating. Just not a nice dude.
No.
Yeah, but
yeah.
So when we first meet Columbo, it's a different Columbo than what we're going to see later on in the series. He's very, very kind. The wife, all these police are asking her questions. She gets flustered. She leaves the office, and Columbo meets her in a hallway. And I remember bringing this up to you. He even says, like, I understand why he needed to get out of there. Like,
Who are you?
I'm just another cop. My name is Colombo. I'm a lieutenant.
Were you
Got the
in
proof
there?
right here. You didn't see me in there because I left before you got in there. And you know why? Because it's so smoky in there and so noisy in there.
which is weird because going on in the series, he's always got the cigar, and he never gives any consideration to anybody around him when he's smoking that cigar. So that was kind of weird. And then he drives her back home, and they have this really kind of cute scene that doesn't mean a lot, where he is offering to make her an omelet. It's like, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning by all the time this has all gone on. And just very kind of,
warm-hearted.
Yeah, very warm-hearted.
However, I will tell you, in my opinion, which we're going to get to in this for my Colombo dorks out there, I was going to bring it up as I'm an improviser. It's what we teach, right? We teach improvisation, but Colombo's an improviser. I was talking about this, is that he does, if you notice, ingratiate. He's always tender to the good people. He really is pretty tender to the people that didn't do anything, but he likes to put himself in the scenarios, right, where he wants to find out. Like, he's always there.
He's a great kind of study of human nature. So I chalk this scene up as to like him watching all her reactions, and She very much acts like a woman who's just discovered her husband has been kidnapped or murdered or something.
But I'm chomping to get in because he just remembered. I forgot. We talked off air for a second. We were like, let's just go back over the facts because, again, we talked about getting older and all this stuff. I forgot, Sean. He notices something when he's making the omelet. He says to the woman, the wife of the deceased, of the victim, and he says, so I noticed back at the place, you laughed when I said his writing partner. Mm-hmm. And she said, yeah. And he goes, why'd you laugh? She goes, oh, I didn't mean anything by it. He goes, I think you did. And she goes, well, he's not really a writer. And this is where he's on to it, in my opinion. He smells it right there, yeah.
So Jack Cassidy has the body in his trunk. Mm-hmm. And does he dump it in his front lawn? Or?
Not yet. So he comes to meet Colombo. He meets them at that woman's house. If you remember with the
meets
egg.
at the house. Yeah.
And this is where he starts telling Colombo if Miss Melville were doing this case. He doesn't even care about his business. It'd be like if you died, and I'm like, well, let me tell you something. I'm an improviser. I can improvise my way through it. It's like, well, wait a minute. Don't you even care about the death first? Yeah. He puts him down.
Yeah.
He puts down Colombo. Yeah.
It's one of those things. So, puts him down, but also is like this weird kind of talking shop type. Because I'm a writer of this famous murder mystery character. We've done a lot of comedy festivals over the years and stuff like that, and we have had occasion to meet some fairly famous people in the comedy world.
Absolutely.
And you and I are not like this, but I do see other people who kind of think like they're into a conversation with a famous comedian is like, I do comedy too. I study with this person and like automatically like trying to insinuate they're on the same level. Whereas
I call it resume-ing. Yeah. When somebody comes in and just resume, and here's the thing, I've done it before, and I hate myself when I do it. We're like, oh, we own the theater, and you're like, why am I name dropping? But
yeah,
I love the way you put that, Sean. He's very much that. Where everybody's like, he's pretentious. Let's call it out. He's pretentious.
Really
yeah.
So that was the first clue, which I did not pick up right away. I picked up on the second clue.
Yeah, you said this earlier. Please tell him.
So Jack Cassidy goes back to his house, unloads the body on his front lawn.
On his front lawn.
Yeah, and to make it look like it's a sign by the mob. Yeah.
We should rewind. I'm sorry. I know you want to get there, but I have to rewind. You can tell I'm dorking out, but I actually did just watch this right before this again, so that's why it's more fresh in my head. The piece of paper, which you're going to get to,
yeah.
But he tells him it was the mob because he's doing the story, and he said, well, where's the body? And remember, he's like, it's corpus delicti, Lieutenant Colombo. Don't you know your law? Don't you know your law? Or something along these lines where he's like, there's no body right now, so there's really no murder on this. And if they were going to do it, they would make a statement.
Right. Boom. And the statement is the so-called mobsters have dumped this body on Jack Cassidy's front lawn. So he drops the body, goes in, and calls the police, but is literally opening his mail.
He's so good at this.
While he calls the police. I was like...
He is. He's like this. He's like, yeah, there's been a murder. Colombo, you better get down here really quickly.
Yeah.
There's going to be something going on.
And it's one of those things, as soon as I did that, like if I discovered a dead body on my front lawn, I'm not going to go and open the mail.
Yeah.
Like, which Columbo, again, picks up on... does he pick up right then and there when Columbo shows up?
When he goes to yes, he does. I mean, I say he gets invited in, and remember, he's giving Lieutenant Colombo what for. Mm-hmm. Like, y'all are looking in the wrong places. You're not going to find this. You're not going to find this. And Colombo, God bless him, pretends to be the best dumb guy you've ever seen.
So, Mr. Franklin, tell me, why do you think that they left your partner's body out there on the lawn like that?
Do you mean to tell me you haven't figured that out? Lieutenant, you disappoint me. It was left as a warning.
A warning?
Of course. It also proves my theory about it being a professional killing.
Like you said, it's a little different Colombo. He's got a little bit of edge to him. He's like, I noticed that piece of paper in your hand is folded. Or whatever. Oh, no, that's the mail. Sorry, the mail is on that. Yeah. But remember, the list of the mob lift was folded as if it had gone in somebody's pocket. Mm-hmm. So he gives him two little kind of like, hey, I am an awesome detective. I don't write it. I am an awesome detective. Yeah, but very humbly.
Yeah, I think he even brings up is like I noticed your mail was open, and Jack Cassidy kind of plays. Well, I guess I wasn't even thinking. You just start going through the motions when you're in a case of shock, and
He's like, it's funny. It's just not the first thing I think about if that happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. These things drive me crazy.
he's always very apologetic when he. So this is one of those. There's a few in the series where there is a double murder.
Yes.
this
Oh,
one.
good call.
So the old woman, she's in her 30s.
Yes.
Yeah. The woman who owns the gas station contacts Jack Cassidy and says,
She shows up to the opera.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
on a
yeah.
date. Or not an opera, it's a murder mystery they went to.
Yeah,
They went to a
play.
murder
Yeah,
mystery
yeah,
play.
yeah.
Yeah.
and he's such a dick.
It was simply marvelous. I was terrified.
Oh, really? I had the whole thing figured out at the end of the first act.
He comes out. Yeah.
He's like so bored. He's like, I knew who did it within
in the first act.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is so predictable. I'm a writer. I'm a writer. Yeah.
So yeah, she shows up.
Aggressively. This is a Steven Spielberg moment, if I may
Yeah.
say. This is a Steven Spielberg moment where she just starts announcing herself in front of this huge crowd, if you remember when they're walking out. Whatever his name is, Ken Ferris, or was that the other one that died? I can't remember his real name in it. The Jack Cassidy character. She's like, hey, and he's like, excuse me one second. He leaves this striking 10 of a woman. I hate saying it, but very beautiful 70s girl that was just, could have been a Bond girl, just beautiful, and goes over to this woman. And she's like, I came into town to shop. And, it's like all up on her face. And I noticed he really concentrated on her mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's I'm going to get in trouble with this. It's got the kind of mouth that,
She had
that
very
needs to have
toothy.
a hook in it or
Yeah.
something. like a fish. But anyway, but maybe cut that. But like back to the point. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm jumping all over on you on this. But it's just to me, and I'd love to ask you this question at the end of this is, she says, you need it. Oh, God, it's so great. She's all innocent at first and thinks it's flirty because he's flirted with her. He flirts with everybody. But at the end, she goes, you're going to want to cancel that meal. Remember, he says, I can't. I got a date. And she's like, you're going to want to cancel that. Well, let's just say it's about a witness. And, of course, his wheels are spinning. And now you can get to the – I apologize. This is when they go out.
Yeah, so it turns out she saw when he stopped on the way up to the gas station, up to the cabin, she saw the partner in the car. He's like, my curiosity got the best of me. You said you were alone, but you always have a woman
Oh,
with
I
you.
love the writing in that. Of course that she would look. She was jealous.
Yes,
she liked
exactly.
him. Yeah.
So he agrees to go on a date with her.
To pay her money.
Pay her-
$15,000 she asked for. Yeah.
But again, she seems to want some sort of relationship.
She's a widower.
Yeah.
Yeah. No children, remember, she says. It's a very these guys write the women, I will say, in this series, and I've loved them, but there's some sadness that I've seen over these episodes where you're like, good God, what happened in their home lives? But they make for thick characters. They really do.
They really do. And this one was written by Steven Bochco, who would go on to do NYPD Blue. And,
Or Hill Street Blues,
Did he do
He might have done the
NYPD Blue as well? I think so.
Who knows?
But anyway, so eventually he has to kill her as well.
He pays her, he takes out the money, brings it to the cabin, if you remember, and then he took 2 champagne bottles that Lieutenant Colombo saw. Remember, he read all the books.
Yeah.
He comes back in his stupid way with all the books. And he's like, I'm going out of town, Colombo. Stop bothering me, kind of thing, which every episode has that. They're at first like, he's an endearing little annoying guy. And then it's like, Colombo, you're driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Which, Sean, I'm so sorry I'm so detailed, but they also had the interview. Remember when he answered the phone the night of the murder that he had put the body out? The phone rings. He's like, how could you call me at a time like this? I would never take an interview. And 2 days later, he's taking that interview with the hot girl.
Right.
So there's another clue that he had where it's like, why is he taking this interview? But, so he murders her with the champagne bottle.
Yeah, and dumps her body in the river or the lake.
And let's talk about it. The man was in shape, which comes up later. He calls Colombo fat later on. I don't know if you realize this, but the man is in shape. I don't know how old he was during this, but I noticed it in his rowing scene. I was like, that dude's in shape. Yeah.
He was a drinker, too. He was
he?
Yeah, back in the day. He was a...
He looks like one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the upshot. So eventually, let's get to, just because I'm afraid our cameras are going to shut off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's jump to the... Or anything, any other things that strike out between here and when Colombo lays out his case.
He goes to his wives.
Yeah.
He's actually admits it in this. He's kind of stooped by this man. And it comes up at the end when the thing about where this guy's good.
Yeah.
The maniacal guy's good and almost has him. He does go down to the to San Diego place to see him, if you remember. And
Yep.
that's when the woman's murdered. Finds the book. Finds out that he's been sort of lying about the relationship that was going on. Finds a champagne bottle top in the thing, the way Columbo would find it, right, in the shop where she was
Yep.
killed. And now you'll get to it. He goes to the wife and is like, I know he did it. This is where it's a different one. He goes,
Yeah.
I know he did it.
All right. You've got a romantic inscription in a book and a champagne cork. Now, what does that prove?
By itself, it doesn't prove anything. But once you assume that Franklin committed these crimes, everything fits together.
I have all the circumstantial evidence. I need you to just talk. And there's where the lovely eggs thing is, because she trusted him.
Yep.
And she's like, he would never do that. And he's like, I need you to just talk. And while she's talking, the big clue comes about is he asks for a match for his cigar and sees that this writer, very much like I do, if I may say to you, writes a lot of by hand down on stupid things everywhere.
Yeah, just scraps of paper all over the place.
Matchbook things, anything that there is, and you can take over from there.
Yeah, so it turns out Jack Cassidy is following the plot of one of the few ideas that he had for a murder that never made it. I think never made it into a book.
No. No.
But it was one of his ideas on how a murder could get away with a murder. He had jotted it down to give to his partner to turn into a book, and for some reason it never happened.
He never thought the partner would write it down. He didn't think he would ever take any of his ideas seriously in it because he wasn't a very good writer. But this is the one time the writer thought he had a good idea and written it down.
And it would have worked if Colombo. Well, you said too that in a court of law, it is still circumstantial.
A little shaky on the end of this one where it's not as concrete. I'd give you that. I think, again, I'm no lawyer. Wrong McMurran, as we brought up earlier. But I'd still say he catches him. And this guy can't believe when he lays it out perfectly on how he did it. And he tells him all the reasons why he was on to him.
The fact that he drove back from San Diego when he found his partner was dead instead of hopping on a plane.
Yep.
Opening the mail.
Yep.
The lying about the knowing the woman at the gas station.
The pulling out $15,000, redepositing $15,000 the next day, having the folded paper in there. So what I loved about when he's doing the closing, we have the whole closing number on it.
I'm going to tell you the truth. For a while there, I never thought I was going to get you. Believe me, you had me going in such circles, I couldn't figure it out. Suddenly, I thought of something. How clever that first murder was. The phone gimmick. Working late in the office. Brilliant.
Oh, you awarding gold medals today?
Yes, for the first one. Not for the second one. That was sloppy. Mrs. Melville, she'd have been very disappointed.
Finally, and we talked about it, some of the facts are shaky and stuff like that as far as circumstances, but he's been had. Lieutenant Colombo is a better detective than this man is in his own story. Because remember, this is the best murder mystery he could come up with, and he still got beaten. But he says to him, he said, did I almost have you, Columbo? And he goes, I got to admit you did. I almost had you. And they take him away, and he's being arrested, and he's left alone in the office. And I love that Spielberg did this because they had showed it earlier, like perfect kind of, you check off, Chekhovian, show the thing to use it later. And they showed this character they had made up, Miss Melville, that was sort of in their office because they had brought him so much fame, and as he's walking by it, he just sort of stops and gives Miss Melville a little respect or a little nod there, if you will, and that's your ending on that. And I don't know why, I love the fact that Spielberg got that.
Right.
He really got that. And other little things Spielberg, just because it never will I normally talk about directors, you want me to, but this is what I'm really talking about. His use of the mouth in that is so lovely.
Like getting really close up on
the mouths of it. Because remember when she's doing the strawberries and the one time he feeds it to her because he's maniacal. And we talked about the Indiana Jones kind of look of the paranoia and the music on top of it. And just brilliant. And sorry, I didn't mean to go on for so long on this. He's told me I've gone over time 10 times, but it's Columbo.
Yeah, it's Colombo. So that wraps up Murder by the Book, the very first episode of season 1 of Columbo. And we have good news for you. There is more Columbo coming your way. We're going to be filming a bunch more Columbo episodes for you Instead of Nerds of Comedy, it'll be Nerds of Colombo.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, something we need you to do, you started to remind me to start doing this, is please hit like and subscribe. If you can, leave a comment which episodes you would like to see. The only reason why I even knew about to do another Columbo episode is that we've gotten a ton of likes on the last
And
Columbo
viewers.
video. And viewers.
Yeah.
So, please just take a second, hit like, subscribe to the channel. It mean the world to us.
And I'll challenge you also, if you can write into anything, can they write to Nerds of Comedy?
Yeah.
If anything you want to write in about Columbo, something we don't know, something you have, something like if somebody has that book of Columbo that we heard about from
that's
James
right, yeah.
Roach, please write into this man. He's very good at coming back to you on this. And more importantly, it's the time where I throw comedy aside and just become a fan.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I know it's annoying to ask all of this, but no, it's not. If you like Columbo, write about it.
So from the Nerds of Comedy and the Nerds of Colombo, I'm Sean.
I'm Brad.
We'll see you next time.
One more thing.